Hey everybody, Captain Tommy Scoville here. You're on the Lifeboat. What's happening? Good morning. Let's do a little roll call and stuff, shall we? Jody Kelly, what's happening? Shannon Smith, good to see you. Kristen Melinda, Prime Rib, sounds good. Charlie Murphy, how are you, my brother? There's Charlie Mullins, people. If you haven't seen him, Charlie is one of my brothers. Miss Sunrise Dawn, good to see you. Bacon Bits, Ben Turner, small guy, 5'2", teeny hands. Clarissa, Mischief Manager, good to see you. Queen of Awkwardness, what's happening? Pajama Pixie, good to see you. Tree Hug, there's Carol. If you've never seen Needing a Meeting, could somebody with a wrench put up a link to Needing a Meeting? It's really a great program. It does very similar to, we do similar things over there that we do here. It's like the Lifeboat 3 years ago is what it looks like. Honestly, a lot. Virginia, last night we did a show and Tommy Bird popped up and talked about the time that you called in. Such a beautiful show. I remember that call. It was awesome to hear somebody else talk about it. Well, I'm glad that you're here, Pruy. Good timing then, eh? Every once in a while. It's Tony's Hooter. What's happening, Tony? Good to see you. And your Hooter. Sorry. Just making sure that nothing really heavy is happening. I want everybody to do me a really big favor. I have a friend named Kathy. I've never met her, right? Neither of you, but she's your friend, Kathy, as well. And Kathy is going in today, as we speak, actually, to have a biopsy done. And Jen Marie, right? It's Jen Marie's mom. And we want all of the positive energy. If you're not a prayer, send positive energy. If you're not a positive energy person, do what you do. But we could use all of it we can get for Kathy, please. And you know what? We've seen some really crazy stuff happen when everybody kind of gets together and does this. We've seen some really, really cool stuff. Piano Man, boy, I was thinking of you last night. I don't know if you caught last night's Lifeboat, Piano Man, but holy hell, was I thinking of you. Jody Kelly, what's happening? Kelly Gerling, good to see you. RTR, Matrix Rabbit. Zelda. Hey, Jen, hang in there, hon. Hang in there. Big thoughts and prayers for good things that are coming. Avina Sativa. Last night was a hard show. And I appreciate the kind words. I wasn't planning on that show being what it was. I'll tell you, what the hardest thing about last night was? If you didn't catch it, there are things that I haven't talked about in my life because they're just things that I don't talk about in my life, and I probably need to. I know that I need to. And I'm moving forward in that direction. I'm taking the steps necessary in order to do that. But I talked about things last night that I don't bring up. I've never brought up. I've never talked to a person about out loud. Well, I've never talked to more than one person about out loud. It was such a bummer when I was done with that to have somebody say, boy, I loved it when the Lifeboat used to do whatever. We don't really do anything heavy anymore. When people come in at the end of a show, right, and then judge the show based on the last 3 minutes, it's like getting kicked in the stomach. Because what we do here very often, especially when you sit in front of the camera, is to cut yourself and bleed while people watch. Anyway, so I used to be a scumbag for a living, right? I used to do anything necessary to make money. And that was the most important thing in my life. So I worked with a dude named Rex, and the two of us worked as public speakers together. We did several infomercials, one of which made phenomenal money, right? Dozens and dozens of millions of dollars, right? Ridiculous money. And cash was everywhere. So we made so much money. We had the opportunity to do a little venture capital stuff where we could invest in some companies and help them get off the ground. More just another way to make money, right? And then we bought companies, publicly traded companies, and tried to turn them around. This is another thing that that businesses do, and when people get a lot of money. And I remember him and I working on a deal, and my job, right? He would make me the president of this publicly traded company. Now, I usually was not the president of the publicly traded company for very long, right? Because my job as the president of the publicly traded company was to deliver the most amount of money that I could to the stockholder for every share that they have. My job was not to do anything else. It wasn't to ensure that the town that that company lived in prospered for 4 more generations. That's got nothing to do with me. My job was to deliver to the stockholder the most amount of money per share that I could deliver them. Sometimes that meant that you go in there and you destroy the business, right? You have a friggin' yard sale because the business is generating in profit $100,000 a year, but it's sitting on $60 million worth of real estate, right? And every once in a while, you would have to go, you know what? We're going to destroy this company, because in the process of destroying this company, instead of the stockholder getting a 75-cent a year dividend, they're about to make $300,000 for their paper. It's terrible, right? But it is. It's unfortunately, it's kind of a Darwinism for capitalists, right? Now you can go ahead and hate me, to put it on the list for other things that I should be hated for. But you know what? My job was to do just that. It was not to be a popular person. It was to deliver the most amount of money to the stockholder. And I was a great person to do this because I didn't have a soul. And people without souls are great for that job, right? For real. Those are the perfect people for that. Now, I have a job now as the captain of this lifeboat. And my job is to make as many people as I can possibly get on this thing. My job is to put more butts in seats so that I can talk to people about connection and about what happens when we connect. Right? And what does happen when we connect? Well, really terrible things that you may not have had the ball sack to ever say out loud, you just might find the guts to talk about. Right? And perhaps you'll never talk about it, and that's okay. But hearing somebody else talk about it might just give you enough to write about it. Maybe you get out your notebook and you don't go to sleep. Maybe you stay up all night long after your show and you journal until the next show. That's what I did. No, that's what I did. Now, if ever you don't think I'm going in the right direction with the lifeboat, just feel really comfortable that I'm not going to sell it. Right? I'm not going to part this thing out. I'm not going to sell off the laptop, the cameras. There's a direction I'm taking this thing. But you know what? I'm going to put butts in the seats. And I have changed the direction of this boat. If it makes you uncomfortable, I'm really not very sorry. I'm not. I'm so happy with the direction that this boat is going in. I have been able to include people who didn't even understand that they needed to be included. You get it? We started out this journey talking to people who drink to forget things, right? Or put needles in their arms to cope with things. That was the target. And then we started to meet people that weren't suffering from drug addiction. They were suffering from other things. But it seems that connection is the treatment for so many of these problems, right? I started to watch people who didn't have drug problems, right? Who were reaching out to me and corresponding. I started to watch the same things happen to these people who had other things going on in their lives other than drugs. But the healing process was identical. Identical. I watched people that didn't have drug problems start to heal like the people that did have drug problems. And I started to realize that, you know what? That maybe this isn't about drugs. Maybe this isn't about drugs. Because I feel alone, right? And vulnerable and sad and miserable and whatever, and I use heroin. When you do it, you might eat, right? Or drink or whatever. Cut yourself, right? Doesn't matter. It really doesn't. So I am taking this boat in the direction that I think it needs to go. And I think it's about people coming together. And you're not always going to love the direction that I take this. And if that's not for you, man, I'm not upset at you. I really hope you stop back in and tell us you love us, or that you're doing well, or that you found a better place to be. Right? Come by and tell us you found something better. It's not going to bum me out. I promise you it's not. I'm one of those people, Tommy. I have childhood traumas, mental illness, and chronic pain. The boat has been my lifeline sometimes. It has been for me too. I promise you. It has absolutely been my lifeline too. Millie, the dandelion. Thank you. And you look beautiful in green. Kristen Melinda says, I have dubbed myself a dopamine doubler. That's my thing. And yeah, connection is the medicine. Yep, it is, isn't it? Connection is the medicine, isn't it? Misbehaving. What's happening? Good to see you. Hey, Becky, how are you? SB, a great comment. Tommy, you don't know me, but I've been lurking a long time. Watching you and Reese has changed my life in a profound way. I hope you realize that for every jackwagon, there are 100 more that you help. Thank you. Thank you. Last night, there are times where you're talking and you can hear, right, what the scumbags are going to do to you. You know what I mean? As I was talking to her last night, I was like, oh man, are they going to have fun with this? But you know what? I don't care anymore. I don't. And I stopped watching them. I haven't watched one video that anybody has made about me in years, literally. But I know I journaled all night. There's a new level of disconnect between me and the hate that I'm stepping up for real. I have there is a very different level of disconnect, not from people, but from that I need to do, and I'm learning. Preaching to the choir here, but what you said, but what you do is incredibly important. Whether it's the heavy stuff or the giggly sillies, we need it all, as we've seen. Those who need one when the other is happening, reach out. Well, love. You know what? This is an amazing place. Thank you, Pajama Pixie, for everything that you do and for all of the support. It's amazing. Mary Jones says, my Others Keeper will be on my channel Saturday, 8:30 at EST. That would be Eastern Standard Time, as we discussed. As we discussed bipolar, my grandmother suffered from it, and mental illness is an important topic. Today is Friday. You know what? I'm on someone's show today. I'm just trying to remember whose show I'm on. But I'm doing a show today. I'm just sorry I'm rude. I'm looking for my schedule. Hold on. So the direction I'm taking the boat, this is the connection boat. It's not the drug boat. It's not. And I said, go back and watch my first video. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, I promise. But this was never going to be an anti-drug channel. It's never what it was supposed to be. It's not. It's just not. Virginia says, Reese is beautiful. I'm happy to have met you both. You know what? Reese is beautiful. She's also a pinch rough around the edges, right? And has been known to throw an F-bomb out at the most inappropriate of times, right? But I love her to death. I really do. And here's the thing about Reese, and I'll tell you for all of you who don't get it, let me see if I can help you out on something. This is my thing with Reese Quibell. I don't remember making a decision to open up and be honest with her. I don't remember that happening to me with any other person in my life. In order for me to be honest and talk to somebody, there is a very big point at which I make a decision that I am going to trust that person. It is a process. It takes a long time, and I struggle with it. But it didn't happen with her. And I find that bizarre. And it didn't occur to me until much later on in our relationship when I was journaling and I went back to revisit that process, because I can revisit it with everybody that I've met in the last, say, 9 years, 8.5, 9 years. Everybody I've met, you can go back and literally go through that process where I kind of do a Ben Franklin kind of a thing about why I should trust this person or not trust this person, or why I should talk to this person. I'm very analytic in everything that I do. And we're letting you watch it, I think, which is kind of cool. You guys are watching the development of a friendship between two people who are not of the same sex. And we joke a lot about stuff that you're not allowed to joke about anymore, right? We used to have sitcoms that joked about stuff like this, but now everybody gets their feelings stepped on if a male and a female joke about things. And you know what? Reese doesn't care. Reese will go anywhere. Reese would have gone a lot deeper last night into that conversation because she's heard it. Watching you has made me chat for the first time. I love what you do here for all of us. Letting us watch what Real Connection can do is very special. You know what, SB? You get the Comment of the Month award. Maybe the Comment of the Year award. What do you think of that? Did everybody hear that? Because I'm going to read it again. Right? Because this is a good one. Watching you has made me chat for the first time, which is nice. I love what you do here for all of us, which is nice. Letting us watch what Real Connection can do is very special. If you watched last night's show and your takeaway was not the fact that the connection that I have found with somebody from a cult that I have nothing in common with has enabled me to talk about things that I've not been able to talk about with counselors, doctors, psychiatrists, Q. It's not an accident that we're letting you watch. At all. I felt bad finding the boat. I've heard this comment 100 times, by the way, because I didn't want to take a seat from a person who actually needed it. I no longer feel that way because you can't compare traumas, and there is never somebody that does not need a seat on the lifeboat. It's I get this comment so often, people that say, I didn't want to come by because I don't have a drug problem. So I really got to beat this drum that this isn't a drug boat. You understand? Because I get this comment too much. And I love it, by the way, because you get it. The fact that you're leaving the comment means that you get it. It's the fact that, you're right, Miss Sunrise Dawn. I think she nailed the name of her channel. Relatable is probably a pretty good name for the to be in the title. Is she everybody's cup of tea? She wasn't even my cup of tea. You hear me? She wasn't. Boy, she is now. I love last night's show. You and Reese talk so freely and open. We do. We absolutely do. We didn't start that way. It's a great lesson there too. And it's a great commentary on communication. If she and I text, we'll be in a fight within 3 hours. For real. Because there's no nuance. You get two people who communicate really well. And I think it's even harder to try to, right, to communicate. You know what? It's really, I mean, the reason that comment is so perfect is because you're watching. That really is what's happening. You're watching the power of connection, right? You're watching what's happening between two people that have a bunch in common, don't we? I mean, think about it. She and I have so much in common. I was born on the East Coast, right? In a really New England, kind of blue blood, kind of New England town, in all honesty. Like the Rockefellers owned the town I grew up in. Both of my parents stayed married my entire life, right? She grew up in a cult. You know, I think the one thing that the two of us probably have in common, the two things that we have in common is that, she used drugs for a period of time. Not a drug addict, by the way. Doesn't have that in her at all. She just used drugs for a couple of years to try to cope with something, but she was never a drug addict. She just doesn't have that capacity. She's not an addict. But we just didn't have a lot in common, right? But to watch two people that have zero in common, at least on the surface, to watch them start to connect, it shows you a lot of what's happening. The number of people who have reached out and said, you have never seemed happier. That's a lovely thing to say. And you have to realize that when you started watching The Lifeboat, right? I had been out of prison. I had been free for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I mean, I had been out, but I had been in a halfway house the entire time. And the halfway house, I mean, they come in and search you. You still get stripped out, right? I mean, you're not in prison, but you're in prison. You're in prison and you can sneak a cigarette every once in a while. You can sneak off to a store and buy things, but you're still in prison. So when I started The Lifeboat, you're watching me come out of the captivity of what prison was. Right? You watch Reese after getting out, and she's been out, a year? So you're watching two people who both just literally escaped prison. Right? I don't know if that's occurred to everybody, but there's a lot there. How cool is this? Tommy, I'm relaunching my channel because of you and the people I found on the boat. I'm trying to go to live again. And my son started talking nice to me again. All thanks to the boat and to you, Tommy. I'll tell you what, when you fire that thing up, let us know. I'd love to come on there, Text is tricky, says Kristen Melinda. I think for some people, you guys, especially the people that are a lot younger than me, you guys kind of grew up with a text mentality. And I mean that in the best of ways. That's not an insult. What I mean is, if you think in terms of those kind of things, the people that write log lines for movies or for books think in 29 word, you tend to train, in such a way, right? And so I think that the younger generation probably texts a lot better than the older generation. And Reese just plain sucks at it. I don't know what her problem is because she's young, right? But actually, maybe I suck at it. I don't know. But we don't do well when we text back and forth to each other. But when we talk, we do great. You think it's a personality thing? It might be. You could absolutely be right on this. I'm guessing, really, because I don't have an answer. That's me just kind of going through, working it out through my head. I promise you, there's nothing to back up what I'm saying. That was just an opinion thing. But you could be right. I just am so bad at getting my point across, but I also can't write. I can't get my point across that way. So it should not be a shocker that texting is a tough thing for me. I use a lot of voice to text. If you're somebody that has communicated with me, I'm sure I've done that to you. I use a lot, not voice to text, just voice message. I just leave messages, because it's so much easier for me to talk. Say a little prayer for you. My sister Maria is 63 days sober. You know what? Well, please do me a favor and show this to your sister Maria, because that is epic. Everybody get that? 63 days sober for Say a Little Prayer, huh? For her sister. How great is that? Good stuff. If you just got here because the boat was about half the size that it was when I asked this morning, but I would like thoughts and prayers for Kathy. She's going in today for a biopsy, and her daughter is a huge part of the lifeboat. This is Jen. So it's Jen's mom. If we could, Calhoun, if you knock yourself unconscious and I have to call 911, then everybody here is going to know about it. I'm just telling you. So I have no problem watching you. You just, you know that my son spins fire. I don't know if you guys, I've talked about this before, but Spanky is one of those people that, like if you've been to Hawaii, that's the first thing that people usually think when you think of spinning fire, but it's done all over the world. It's huge at like Burning Man, things like that. Well, Spanky's been doing it a long time and he's very, very talented at it. But part of one of the things he does is like with nunchuck type things. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm probably a lot nastier when they're flaming, but even when they're not flaming, it's hard to watch. And I'm watching my kid fling these things around while I'm doing the show. So if he knocks himself unconscious and you hear me go, ooh, that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, it's really kind of weird, Matrix Rabbit. We can get into a place. You know what? In fact, let's do this. Tommy, you're comfortable talking to Reese when we watch YouTube. It's two friends catching up and learning more about each other. I think that's it, right? Now, do you know the amount of responsibility that takes the person that's guiding you? For those of you that, you know, it's funny. Someone the other day on Reese's channel said that they're now grazing in the lifeboat pasture. They were on the fence about Tommy for a long time, but something about one of the last shows. Well, there's a lot of you on the boat who are the same way. And then you'll reach out occasionally and say to me, you know, I saw something and really made me think different of Reese or whatever. For those of you who are on the fence, you know what I would like you to do, because I think it's probably a pretty big deal for those of you that get it. Realize that last night, when we were doing what we were doing last night, that anytime you're in that dynamic, one person is very much guiding the other person. Does that make sense? Even if it's the two of you. If you and I are on the phone and we're talking about your addiction, or we're talking about addiction in general, one of us is kind of leading the other. And last night, I was not the person leading that meeting. Now, she knows this story, all of it, and could have really taken that thing and run with it, right? She did everything she could to make sure I didn't talk about too much last night. And you know what? As a YouTuber and as a content creator, right? You know how it had to be, it literally had to be like, because you want to help the person, right? I will pet Squirrel for you, I promise. Squirrel's very mad that she's not allowed to sit on the keyboard. That's why she just stomped off angry, because it's a little chilly here this morning and she wants to get on the warm, because this is just a cat warmer. It's not a computer. And Squirrel knows that. Everything in this house is just here for Squirrel. I am very impressed that yesterday she didn't decide to just make that into some really amazing content, because she could have. It probably would have left me in really, really bad shape, right? But I bet it would have been really incredible content. And at some point, we'll end up having a very, very deep conversation about all of that. But I think that for someone that's not a counselor, that was just her being very, very caring, and I hope you caught it. I'd like to think that I would have been the same way, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, because the more that the person says, the better it is for them, right? Honestly, like it would have been better. I don't think Reese thinks that way. She's just being a person and a friend. You know what? I agree with you. But even if you're just being a friend, right? You got to sit there and think to yourself, you know what? The more that comes out, the better off this person's going to be. And that's the truth, always. But when the whole world's watching, right? I think it was a very caring thing. And it didn't occur to me until about 3:00 in the morning, because I ended up watching the show again, which I don't do, by the way. I know you probably don't believe that, but I don't ever watch, There's so much of them. If I were to watch all my shows, I mean, I don't ever watch shows unless something happens in the chat that I want to go back and look at or something. And I didn't pay attention to anything any of you said throughout the entire show. Like you guys kind of just fell away. So I went back to look at some of the comments. I wanted to see what the general consensus was while I was doing the show. But yeah, it was deep in the morning until I realized that she did a pretty good job of being a bouncer, right? For me. Well, thank you, Calhoun. I'm pretty fond of you. Wow, what a cool thing to say. SB says, I never witnessed adults having hard conversations without bad things happening. It's a masterclass in communication for those of us that have never experienced it. I knew that, Calhoun, but I love you too. I think it's a master class while we're taking the class too. I really do. Thank you, Matrix Rabbit. You're very open, Tommy, about how you are and who you used to be. It's what attracted me to your channel. Your honesty. We love you, Tommy, and some of us need the pep talks. You know what? I don't think there are any accidents. I do think that I needed to find Reese. I don't think that there are accidents ever. I've always been I've been very open about that one. I don't believe in accidents. I don't believe in. And I also don't believe in coincidences. 10 o'clock California time. I will be going live today. And I'm going to be talking about doing some true crime stuff. I think I'm live. If I'm not, I'm recording it. But either way, I'm going to be on, and I'm going to be with conversations with Christy. And I'm really looking forward to that. Christy's a lot of fun to create content with. You know what? It's pretty cool, isn't it? You know why Seventh is saying this, right? If you happen to be one of those people that have been around for a really, really long time, right? There's an inner group of people that get screwed over, especially the ones with wrenches, but that get screwed over into people who assume that that inner circle has some kind of a connection or an understanding or something. I don't have a connection or an understanding to meet people, but I know that Seventh, I know that, Charlie, I know that Alan Ballantyne and V and all of the really old timers, people end up reaching out and saying, hey, can you ask Tommy? I promise you, people. Yeah, they all have my number. The reason they have my number is because they never abuse it. Or, you know what I mean? They're all really, don't beat on the old timers. I promise you, they don't have any answers. I don't have any answers. Shambot sounds. Well, there's something about that name that's messing with my head, and I don't know why. Tommy, I've been a lurker bot mode lately, but always so grateful for you. Thank you. Your words, your support of those in your community. Thankful for you, Cap. Thank you, Shambot. Why is Shambot messing with me, Calhoun? Is there a name of a band or something? What is Shambot? Do you know? I don't know. It's tickling something in my brain, and I don't know what it is. Question. Would you consider doing a review of Quiet on Set? Is Quiet on Set a film? Do you know what that is, Calhoun? Oh, your hair looks epic today. Did you just do something with it? You look like, it looks like a Viking today in a big way. Well, you'll see him at the end, but my kid's looking very Vikingish at the moment. Is Quiet on Set I don't know what, that's what it is. You know what? Lori, well played. That's exactly what it is. Holy crap, I can't believe you got that. That's what it is. That's what it is. It was a Robin Williams reference. That's what it was. That is so bizarre. And it is what it is. That's where I got that. Wow, is that funny? Well, welcome, you little old bot. I'm glad you're here. And thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was a Mork reference. I would, it depends on how long ago Quiet on Set was made. If it's shot from one camera, yeah, maybe I would be willing to do that. I'm going to have to see it. I can't watch films, but I have found out recently that there are ways that I can still enjoy films. I have to do them like the visually impaired, but yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that. Staysperia, that one crossed my mind. See this? This is really funny. I'm going to show you how my mind works because my head went there. The fembots, my head went there too. But no, what it was Shezbot. Yeah, no, it definitely was a Mork thing. But I was running through to show you how my weird head works. I was running through all those. By the way, I bought new shoes. Did I tell you guys that? Look at this. This is the first change in footwear, Calhoun, in your entire life. Do you know that? I went back to buy my Adidas, right? I buy the same pair of shoes every single time I buy shoes, and I have since 1986. Barbarella was great, by the way. Yeah, I've been wearing the exact same kind. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Quiet on Set is the new Nickelodeon documentary about the child abuse that happened there. It's a documentary. I can watch it. I can absolutely watch it. Thank you. And I will do that. You have my word. I did not know what that was. I am very much. This is something that we're going to be doing here on the boat anyway, right? We're going to be covering the Nickelodeon thing. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Thank you. These YouTube screets. Am I saying that wrong, Calhoun? Am I looking dumb? Do I look like an old man? Nice Adidas. I went with Sambas. Now look, I always buy the same thing. I buy Stan Smiths or I buy Rod Lavers, usually Stan Smiths. But those are the only two things I buy. And when I got there, when I put it on, the size wasn't right. Like maybe my foot got bigger or whatever, but in the same size normally that I buy, I put on the Sambas. And there was a lovely, lovely woman there who, if I think I'll remember her name, Letitia was her name. And Letitia worked harder than any woman has ever worked at a shoe place. Like she ran back and forth like 40 times. But so I bought new shoes is the moral of the story. I bought Sambas. So first change of sneaks in, ever. Oh, this is really odd. The number of things that I have learned from Reese in a really short period of time have been nothing shy of amazing. Now, that said, I'm not 100% sure that that would have been the same thing for everybody. I had spent a long time working on addiction, working on my problems. I had spent the previous 8 years of my life doing nothing other than kind of reading about things like this. So by the time that I came across the second gens, right, I was probably a little bit more open to the process and the concept that there's more that keep us all connected than that separates us. I used to be of the belief that the more we could get, the more specified, the smaller we could pare down the groups, the better the treatment was going to be. So I thought that it would be a really great idea to have drug addicts, right, ideally heroin addicts should just be with heroin addicts and they should all just recover and let's get the ones who smoke it over there and the ones who shoot it over here. But I should be in the group that do both, right? Because I was huge into doing both. I smoked, 5 grams a day and shot 3, or 2. So I thought, and I really believed this. Then I started to meet people that were healing in different ways from different things. And Reese was just completely unique because Reese goes to therapy. I would. Can you imagine sitting in on one of their therapy sessions? Reese is very unique in how she does everything and how she communicates. And I'll be really honest with you. And I know I'm going to step all over people's feelings with this one. Hey, this is thanking everybody that was praying for Kathy. She came out of surgery and everything is good. Huh? How's that? It's good stuff. So this isn't going to make but this is what it boils down to. I think that hey, Nikki Cuz, long time. Glad you're here. I think that she brings a crap load to me because of the cult upbringing. Reese will say things to me nobody else on planet Earth would have the cojones to say, right? She can get away with it. But and I'm not saying anything that everybody here does not know. She is ridiculously honest. And sometimes could probably use just a little bit more sanding down. All right. Occasionally she's a little bit rough and she'd be the first one to tell you that. Well, you're going to have to try the Sambas because I'm telling you, they're more comfortable. And it was really, really, this was hard for me, man, but the Sambas are more comfortable. It's the truth. So because she was raised in Scientology, the way that she communicates, she is blunt as hell. Zippy says, I'm blunt as hell. She's blunter than blunt, right? She really is. Now, she is becoming less blunt because she has hurt my feelings occasionally and knows that she has, and which is odd. But when she does, more often than not, especially if you're a dude, and if you're a dude that's been to prison, if somebody hurts your feelings, you're not going to get a sorry. You know what I mean? But I think she's hyper focused now these days on not trying to hurt my feelings because I think she's probably one of the few people that realize that my feelings get hurt pretty easily. And I think that, she has no filter. That's absolutely true. I wish she had a little bit more of a filter, and I've told her that. You know what I mean? I've told her that because I think here's something that I'll say straight out too. I know that there are some of you that don't care if there's 5,000 F-bombs in one of my shows. I know that there are those of you that don't care, and it doesn't make a crap bit of difference to so many people, but it makes a difference to some of them. Remember how my job is to deliver money to the stockholders in my previous life? Here, it's to put butts in seats. And what if the person that really needs to get off of fentanyl today, believe it or not, would just walk off if they heard 4 or 5 F-bombs? You go, well, that's not, oh no, it is. It is. I think of my friend that I was a public speaker with, Spanky. This is a 2-man show. I'm doing this for Spanky right now, but you know who I'm talking about, right? That dude had a drug problem. He looked like Elvis. He was a public speaker, one of the most talented dudes that you ever saw. Really talented. Looked like Elvis, right? But the dude had a thunderous drug problem. But that cat, if you said an F-bomb, he would walk away and he wouldn't speak to you again. He didn't talk to people that cursed. And he was forced with me because we worked together. But I mean, for the first probably month, I was staying in a room next door to him, right? And they would pay for, you get a per diem. So I said to him one day, you realize that if we stayed in the same room, we could split like $400 a day in room cost. It would be another $200 a day. And he's like, yeah, I can't be around your mouth. How's that? He was like, man, I can't stand the cursing. You know what? I have heard therapists say this too, Nikki, that letting curses fly is absolutely super, super good for you, right? Like it's not that, but I have to play the numbers, right? And that's literally what I'm doing. I'm playing the numbers. Also, for me personally, because of where I got sober, I had Q in my ear every day saying to me, listen to how every single person here talks. Do you want to be like these people? If you do, talk the way they talk. And that was such a huge deal to me because every single person I met, including the staff, could not do a sentence without 4 F-bombs. They used them like a comma, right? If you were pausing, there was an F there. So we went over to so-and-so's house and we were effing, right? It's literally like a comma. That's kind of where we got. Mary Jones says, Tommy, we were in Amish County and I saw an Invicta watch. Usually they're about that big, right? Now, that is a watch company that was purchased. They were defunct, but that was a watch company. Invicta was making watches 125 years ago. Find an Invicta that's 100 years old and I will buy that watch, right? All of them. Any Invicta that you can find that's old. The new ones are a little big for me. I'm not... This watch that I wore yesterday looks remarkably like an Invicta, right? In size. It's a Quorum. It's a very, very big watch. This is 48 millimeters. It's like, it doesn't look huge when it's on my wrist because I'm a freak. But if you saw this on somebody else's wrist, it looks like Flava Flav's thing that he's got around his neck. So it's not the cursing, right? For me, it was about control. If I couldn't control my ability to not drop F-bombs, then I probably wasn't doing a very good job at controlling other things in my life, right? Now, I don't care if you curse. I don't care if she curses. I don't care. Honestly, you guys can do whatever you want in your life. I don't do it here because I don't want to run somebody off that needs help. And it's one of the few places on planet Earth where I can control such things, right? I can't control in the real world. Now, I used to be a much more hardliner about it, and I'm not anymore, right? If somebody comes on and they curse, it's not good for the algo. It's not. It's not good for the algorithm when you do it in the live chat. It's not, right? I'll tell you what, the best thing, honestly, the best thing about cursing, if you really want to do it correctly, I'll tell you how to do it correctly. I've heard Q drop an F-bomb once, right? And let me tell you something. It got my attention. If you hang out with somebody that never curses, they just simply don't do it. They're articulate, right? Everything that comes out of their mouth sounds like it was practiced, right? Well, the first time you hear that person drop an F-bomb, you know that there was something real serious, right? That has just gone on. And I've told the story before, but he stopped a fight between 2 races. You do not, like, 2 races should never fight in prison. It should never happen, ever, right? Without permission. But he went and stopped this from going down, right? And he dropped an F-bomb in the process. He walked up and just said, this isn't going to effing happen. Not here, not now. And when he did, every single person in the room stopped what they were doing. Because that dude had been on that yard 30 years, and I guarantee no one had ever heard him say an F-bomb. So when he walked up, and that's the purpose of never using it, so that when you do, it was that, like the music, like the in the movies, when the record gets right? Everything just sort of stopped. What the hell did he just say? Right? What did he just say? Everybody stopped what they were doing. Cup of coffee, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Do I curse? In the real world, I really try not to. Am I good at it? I'm a lot better at it when I'm live, right? But yeah, I do everything that I can to not curse, because for me, this is my skill. I don't have a superpower, right? This is my skill. This is my so if I'm dropping F bombs, right? I am literally um I am literally saying I'm not very good at what I do, and I'm just going to default to to a vocabulary that's a little smaller. Q can't speak yet, Miss Sunrise Dawn. That's where Q's at, and he is unwilling to allow me to hear it, which really bums me out. Just keeping it real, it bums me out. But I did a show last night, and I talked about things that I never told Q, and I'm sure that would bum him out. So there's something there that he doesn't. It's a pride thing, I'm sure, right? I'll tell you something about Q. Q catches a lot of crap from Black people for sounding white. This is something that is a thing. And it's a thing that he actually deals with a lot of crap about inside. They will say he tries to sound white. He tries not to curse. He tries to enunciate the words that he says. He takes great pride in sounding educated. When you are really angry at somebody and you want to tell them to F off, but you're able to do it without saying those words, right? And there's something very impressive about a person that can tell you that you are a worthless piece of feces without telling you that you're a worthless piece of feces, right? And do it beautifully. So he takes a lot of pride in his ability to enunciate and his ability. So his now inability to articulate things, I think it's harder for him. He talks to his mother, but he's not ready to talk to me just yet. So we just keep praying for him. You know what? He's going to get better. He's going to get better. I promise you he's going to get better because that's who he is. I told his mom, there is no chance in hell that he does not speak again. In fact, he'll probably do it better than he did. Did you say nice watch? This is a Blancpain 50 fathoms, right? Swatch version. Really cool watch, man. 51 parts. Bizarre watch. I'm a huge fan. Sometimes the guy needs to cry on a woman's shoulder. What a great thing. Look at this. What a great thing. Sometimes a guy needs to cry on a woman's shoulder. It's softer than a man's, if you get my meaning. I think that's a beautiful thing that you just said. I really do. What a great comment. Calhoun, back me up on this. Is that a great comment? That's a great comment. That's a great comment. You know what? Hey, Russ. I am usually interested in watch bands. Yes, I am. Thank you, Nikki. I got this. I bought a bunch of them. There are multiple oceans that are represented, and that would have been a different ocean, but it's the same watch. It's a 50 fathoms. I was on vacay, and I walked into one of the places, and I just said to them, "You got to be kidding! You put a battery in a Blancpain. Blancpain is the only watch company to never put a battery in a watch. They were famous for it. In fact, there's the guy that ran the company famously once cursed at a board meeting because they said, if we don't start making crap watches, if we don't start making quartz watches, we're going to go out of business. And he said, I would rather go out of effing business than put an effing battery in an effing watch. He's pretty serious about it. So I walked in and just said, you put a battery in a Blancpain? They said, no, that's an automatic watch. I said, really? So I started looking at it. It's also never touched by a human being. It's all made by machine. There are so many firsts on this, and everything, including this band, all of this is stuff that they pulled out of the ocean. This is all fishing line that has been pulled out of the ocean. So this is a very, very much a tree hugging thing. No. Russ, you're good. No, you didn't bum me out. No. Come on. I just wanted to know that if you saw last night's, and I'll tell you why. You're totally cool. No, because I'll tell you something, Russ. When you came on my show way back in the day, and Yeah, it's a pretty cool watch, actually. It's very, very cool watch. When you came on my show and you talked about what happened to you, it was there really was an opportunity right there for me to say, you know what? There was a time in my life where somebody did something like that to me. And I should have, you know, I straight up should have. And I didn't. And I didn't because of the guts thing. I mean, that's really what it is. I wasn't I didn't have the balls, I think, at that point, for lack of the intestinal fortitude that it required at that point to say, you know what I went through was a little different, but I went through something similar, and I wish that I had. I really do. I wish that we had that I had that conversation then. But the next time that I have you on, Russ, we're gonna have an interesting. Wow, what a cool thing to say, man. Well, the next time you come on, Russ, we're gonna have a different conversation. It should be a an interesting one. But all right, Matrix Rabbit, be careful. All right, be careful. I got genuinely upset when my non-battery watch that was a sheer luck to find wasn't salvageable anymore. It is salvageable. I promise you. If it's a non-battery watch, it's salvageable. It sometimes it takes a lot of effort. Sometimes it requires tracking down a lot of things that's difficult, but it always, if it doesn't have a battery in it, a guy like me can always make it run again. It's just a matter of getting the stuff. Right? It's finding the parts and all that. Now, I have more parts than anything. It depends on what kind of watch too, but they can always be fixed. Well, I will do it this weekend, Russ. That sounds like a plan. Now, tonight, I am hoping to do a call-in show. So Calhoun and I are going to be working on this all day and getting it all dialed in. So, but that is the plan as of right now. So here we go. Look at this. I have always tried not to curse. People think I'm odd sometimes, but to me, I prefer not to. I think it goes back to childhood trauma and just not wanting to be around negative yelling and screaming. I'm so glad that you said this, Pink Dolphin. So glad that you said this. Did everybody hear this? Because I'm going to say it again. I prefer not to. I think it goes back to childhood trauma and just not wanting to be around negative yelling and screaming. How many times, right? I'm going to be with you in one moment. How many times in life have we said something without thinking about it and not thought to ourselves, I wonder if the person that I'm sitting with, every time they've heard this F-bomb, it's been because an abusive parent screamed it at them, right? Or an abusive mate screams it at them. These are words that tend to get used in ways that aren't particularly pleasant at the worst of times. Burika, I sent you back an email. Maybe then I do this wrong constantly. I know the watch. Now here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go send the email again the second that I hang up here. Okay? Because I don't want to do it here. Here's the thing with identifying it. I'm not trying to bum you out. I'm not trying to bum you out for the world. That watch doesn't exist. The watch that you sent me a picture of does not exist. Now, the reason I say that is this: the measurements on the watch. And you say, you didn't measure it, you're looking at it in a picture, but this is what I do. So the measurements in that watch, right? That watch exists 4 years after the one you're showing me. So the dial on that watch, which is the face, right, was manufactured after the model you're showing me, right, was made. So one of two things happened. Either somebody bought a Patek and put a different dial on it, which would be the first person in history to do that, right? Because the value of the watch would get cut in half. Pateks start at about $65,000. That's the entry level stuff for a Patek, a man's Patek watch with a mechanical movement, right? So that particular watch can't be real. And There are also some things about the, if you take a picture of the movement and you blow it up, and then take a picture of the paddock movement and blow it up and look at it next to one another, you're going to find that the balance wheel, the thing that swings back and forth, where the bridge comes out that holds that, right? That's called the cock, sadly. But the mechanism on that, the tuning cock, the mechanism on that tunes, is very, very distinctive with paddock, and very, very difficult to copy. That on the one that you're looking at now, it's a mechanical watch, right? And for that, it's worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars, because every mechanical watch is worth hundreds of dollars. I mean, really, especially if they run, they're worth hundreds of dollars. Somebody put a lot of effort into making that, but nobody at Paddock did. And I hate that. And it's 90% of my job is telling people that. And it's the worst thing in the world. I hate it, right? Because it happens constantly. And you know what's worse? What's worse is when somebody comes and says, this was left to me. When I get that, hey, this was left to me by somebody, I go, I don't do that. I don't look at those. You got to take that to a jeweler, because I'm not going to tell somebody that the watch that their great grandfather gave them isn't real. But Paddocks, about 2,000 to 1 is what they say. And with Rolex, they say it's 9,000 to 1. So for every real Rolex on earth, there's 9,000 fakes. And Rolex makes 2 million of real ones a year. So when you think about how many of them are out there, sadly, it is a gazillion-dollar industry, the knocking off of particularly watches and handbags, but it is a gazillion-dollar industry, and it is not a harmless crime. The people that are making these things, they're gangsters. They have child labor. It's awful. Never, ever do it. You know what? I know that, you know what this is? This is somebody that's watching that hasn't caught up yet, but I know exactly where they're at in the conversation. And you're right. Reese is in a cult most of her life, a cult where she didn't have a voice, and she has one now and she uses it. But you know what's fascinating? And I really need to question. I read you need to open up the backside to see the serial number on an old pocket watch. You absolutely cannot tell the serial number on a pocket watch without taking the back off. Here's the good news. The good news is there are people that will buy that like this. Just don't tell them it's real. But there are people that will buy that in a heartbeat as a fake. I promise. But just be really honest with the people. If you list that online and say, right? What's the word they use? Tribute? I don't know what they call it. They don't use the word fake, because that's just use a word other than fake. But say this is not, manufactured by Paddock, but runs and keeps time, and you're looking at hundreds of dollars. I promise, because that's what people pay for those. I'm in the process right now of doing 3 restorations on watches for people that are on the boat. Mickey is running, so I'm going to show you guys. It's one of a kind. That's what it is, Geltha. It's one of a kind. But yeah, there is absolutely a market. You can, hey, let me tell you something about Timex, Dennis from Boston. Somebody just paid more money for a Timex the other day. The record has just been broken for a Timex sold at auction, but $3.3 million for a Timex watch sold at auction happened last week. So there are some really expensive Timex watches. Listen, do you know how many times this has happened to me? Funny Rolex story. When my father passed in 95, his gold Rolex was given to my husband and it wasn't running. So we took it to a jeweler to get a new battery. Can you imagine our embarrassment? It happens all of the time. All the time. People will come to me and say, this doesn't work, or it needs a battery put in it. And you just go, and you hand it back to them and go, I assure you it works. No, you should be able to get your money back if you paid a few hundred. You paid a few hundred Australian. I'll tell you what. I'll send pictures to my movie people. They might buy it, because you're not putting. Chances are they're not interested in putting an actual Paddock on someone's wrist for a film, because God forbid, right? Something happens to it. The watches are indestructible unless you drop them from 4 feet. If you drop a watch from 4 feet to the ground, I don't care who makes it, almost always they're going to need to be repaired. There are wind-up Mickeys all over the place that you don't have to pay an arm and a leg for. There are a ton of them. Fortunately, Timex made 1 billion Mickey watches. And the modern ones, and by modern I mean 60s. If you get them from the 60s, the winders, they're all over the place and they're not expensive. You should be able to probably be $80, $90 into one, you know. And then for a mechanical watch that works, that's cheap. I mean, come on, that's really cheap. All right. So me and my boy are going to get to work. We have got a lot to do. We have really got a lot to do. Question. Here's the thing. Watches from the 80s that have characters on them, it's hit or miss. It's hit or miss with all character watches always. Some of them are worth next to nothing, and some of them are worth so much money it would blow your mind. Yeah, Russ. I just got a text from Russ. Good call, brother. I thought about that. Actually had that conversation earlier today. Believe it or not. You're all right. Did we just see a Sophia? Hi. Yeah, she's lurking. Sophia's a lurker. Sophie, have a great day. And to everybody else, have a great day. Carrie, I'm doing a show on the protein balls this afternoon where I will be doing all of the question and answer stuff on it. I'm going to tell you which there are flavors of this that I think they need to discontinue. I'm never going to tell anybody that I like something I don't. But I'm going to tell you which ones I think are awesome, but it's going to be today, and you'll be able to buy the stuff today. We're going to be doing a question and answer show on it this afternoon. Best waterproof watch, like period, Rolex Submariner. There you go. You're never going to get a better waterproof watch than the Rolex Submariner. I don't care what you do to it. You can't hurt it. Plain and simple, you can't. But that being said, any watch that costs more than $1,000, right, is going to be watertight enough that you have nothing to worry about. They are very, very good at making waterproof watches. Or you can buy Swatch. Swatch makes an incredibly waterproof watch. However, they have batteries. I can't stand battery watches. Or you can drop a lot of money on a Swatch that is mechanical, because they make a really good mechanical watch as well. All right, everybody, that's the news. By the way, you're jealous of Spank's hair? Are you kidding? That's my son. How do you think I feel? I just want to pull it all off of him and then wear it myself. But if I had Calhounas's hair, I promise you it would be the same length as his is now. But there's no hope for his old man ever being able to to spot. I could do the bullet. I can rock a pretty serious bullet. You know what I mean? Where it. Yeah, Pink Dolphin says you had a Timex that was frozen. Those commercials where they take a licking and keep on ticking, that was real stuff. You could not destroy a Timex. But the reason you couldn't is there was no jewel. There was not a piece of a very thin metal point going into a jewel, which is what happens in a watch. That's why they say it's a 17 jewel or a 21 jewel. Okay. In a Timex, it is just metal into metal, which makes it very tough. But over time, metal on metal wears out. So eventually you just can't, you just can't make that one happen. So, all righty, people, that's the news. And I am out of here. All right. See ya.